The packet of poetry. All right, the requirements of the poetry pack. The packet must contain 5 to 7 poems. The packet must contain at least 3 types of poetry. The type of each poem must be identified. And all poems must be original. For some strange reason, all students realize their essays and short stories must be their own writing, but some people think that their poems can be roses are red, violets are blue, or some other copy of someone else's work. Let's talk a moment about what a poem is. No one can truly answer this once and for all. The question is just too difficult. But for this class, we'll establish first and foremost that a poem makes sense. It has meaning. Mere rhyming does not. Don't write something just because it rhymes. Poems like the following will not be accepted for credit. Cheese is a disease when you eat it with the Chinese by the trapeze on the boat of the 7 seas with a deep freeze.
That sounds pretty nice, John.
Now, recalling that your poem must contain at least 3 types of poetry and that each type must be identified, you have to spend a moment on the types of poetry. The 2 most common types of poems in the English language are the couplet and the quatrain. The couplet's called the couplet because the rhymes come in couples. Time, crime, way, day, side, tide, wood, flood, and so on through the entire poem. A, B, B, C, C, D, D. Poems are typically broken up into stanzas, sort of like a paragraph in regular writing. A couplet can be written as a single stanza, even if it's long. A quatrain has 4 lines per stanza. That's the definition of quatrain. This particular quatrain example, The Chimney Sweeper by William Blake, has the same rhyme scheme as the couplet does. Young tongue, weep, sleep, head, said, bear, hair. That's A, B, B, C, C, D, D. Because it has the same rhyme scheme, it is called a double couplet. Another popular style is to wrap the inside with the outside. So, cries rhymes with wise, and youth and truth are on the inside. That's A, B, B, A. And this is referred to as the envelope style because the A surrounds the B like an envelope. Another popular style is like this: day and way, but Lee and me. So it's A, B, A, B. And this is called the elegiac stanza. Finally is the ballad stanza, in which the first and the third line do not rhyme, but only the second and the fourth line rhyme. But there are many other types of poems. A poem with only 3 lines per stanza is called a tercet. If it has 6 lines per stanza, it's a sestet. An octave is like a double quatrain. There are 8 lines instead of 4. Another very popular type of poem is the sonnet. The sonnet always has 14 lines, and it's broken up into 3 quatrains and a couplet at the end. Now, the first 3 quatrains set up a problem or look at something in a certain way, and the last 2 lines are like the punchline in a joke. They turn it on its head. They look at it a new way. They give you that little oomph at the end. The rhyme scheme can vary. There's a couple different ways of doing that. And of course, there are many other types of poems. Now, creating a rubric for poetry, some would think is impossible, and some might compare me to Mr. Pritchard from Dead Poets Society for even trying. But you can make a rubric for a poem type. This is the couplet rubric, and the rhyme scheme has to be the rhyme scheme of a couplet. I can also require a length and that it is clear what the subject is about. But look at that second to the last row. The line length, the meter, the rhythm. Let's look at that a second. Let me give you two examples of a couplet line. Each pair will have two lines. Each will have the same rhyme. Ready? My brother just sits around watching TV. I love the outdoors. That would never suit me. Compare that to, my brother just sits around watching TV, but I like to hike and swim and be outdoors and stuff, so that wouldn't be a good choice for me. Now, clearly, I've made a ridiculous comparison, but can you see that the first example, which has similar line lengths, similar numbers of syllables in each line, works a whole lot better than the second one?
Most poems in the English language are iambic, but not all of them by a long stretch. Iambic means that every other syllable gets a stress. For example, I will arise and go now, and go to in this free. And a small cabin build there of clay and wattles made. Now you notice there's two cases where there's unstressed syllable in a row. This means this particular poem is a slightly irregular iambic.